1 2 1 2. One two one two. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Motive Racing YouTube channel here tonight for another season here for the Sunday GT3 Championship. We are here at Kyalami for this opening round of the season. We've got the Tier 2s out on track in front of us right now to kick off another season. Season 5 here on the PS5. I've lost count how many seasons. I think it's about, well, it must be about the 17th season or something that we've done on ACC altogether. This is the 5th season on the PS5, and I'm absolutely stoked to be back here in the comments box here tonight. What is currently a dry Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. Obviously, we've seen a bit of rain around in the practice sessions, and we know that there's rain in the air. But currently the forecast is telling us that it's set to be dry at the moment during qualifying. Whether or not that changes for the race, it remains to be seen, because there is a certain level of randomness to do with the weather. So you don't actually know what the weather's going to be until you get into the actual race session itself. And even then you can only see half an hour ahead of you. So really, it's a bit of a guessing game. It's you've kind of got to play it safe with certain methods and with certain strategies. You know, you can't commit to, or if you do commit to a dry strategy, then you could leave yourself vulnerable potentially. But it's going to be fascinating to see how the guys cope with unpredictable weather conditions for this season. It's a new thing that we're adding in. Obviously last season we had very set weather, so whatever it was going to be, you know, you'd know exactly what it'd be. You'd practice in the server in the week beforehand, and you'd know that that was exactly what you'd be faced with. Obviously this season slightly different, but nonetheless we are here tonight with Kodlungu, currently sat on provisional pole position here on a 1 minute 42.4. This man here took a couple of wins last season here in Tier 2. I remember he won the final race of the season at Monza in quite dominant fashion, actually. I seem to remember. So he's got the credentials here. He raced with us way back in the day. Was a top tier racer in the PS4 GT3 league back when there was one tier, and he was up the top, battling out for wins, podiums, and came close to a championship one season, I believe, as well, in a battle, in an exciting duel for one of the championships with Ryan Ruby, which I believe Ryan beat him to narrowly. But God, currently blazing the trail here. He's over a second clear of everybody else. So as I say that, Fierce Mars just goes into second, only 4 tenths behind. So Fierce Mars starting to get into a bit of a rhythm as he parks it and looks like he's returning to the pits. You got Sharkazoo there, sat in third place. I believe he took the. Did he win the? I can't remember if he won the opening. I might be getting him confused with someone else here. I know he was quite quick at the beginning of last season. Did he win the season opener last season? If anybody knows, Sharkazoo will, I'm sure will know. But if anybody does know, then can you confirm whether or not I've got the right driver here? Because I think I might, but I can't remember. But I think he might have won the season opener last season at Spa, if my memory serves me correctly, which it may well not. It may well be that I've completely misremembered that. If I have, apologies to the actual winner and Sharkazoo. But in the meantime, we've got Totally Zero sat in 4th at this point. Driving in a very fetching pink livery as well. That's yeah, well, not the standard livery that I think we're used to seeing, but nonetheless it's an exciting one. We've got Crazy Legs there, P5 at the moment in the Ferrari. You've got Ben Thompson making his, I assume that's Ben Thompson, you know, I suppose it's quite logical to assume so. He's sat in P6 right now. He's 1.2 seconds off of the pace at this point. But we've got Nath currently sat in 7th at the moment. He's 1.3 seconds off of the pace. Nath J. Fletch here, driving now in his 3rd season here at Motive, so he's a bit of a veteran. He's been here. A lot of the drivers here started in season 3. I had a big revamp, had a massive sort of promotional campaign for the leagues here at Motive on ACC, and we've got a lot of new faces in for season 3, and Nath is one of those drivers, and he's currently moved us up into 3rd place actually since we started watching him. So Nath there has jumped up to within 7 tenths of a second of the provisional pole time, so great up there from Nath there in the number 98 BMW. Shelton's currently sat in 8th here in this session, also in the BMW. We've got quite a few BMWs out on track here tonight. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 BMWs here. So that's a lot of BMWs, almost counting for half of the grid here tonight. You've got a few Ferraris, you've got a few McLarens, and the rest is a Bentley and a couple of Audis as well. But yeah, the BMWs clearly seeming to be a very popular choice of car for this season. Shelton currently running 8th place here. We've got Mad Hatter, also a debutant here tonight. He is currently sat in 9th place at the moment on this leaderboard. He also driving in a BMW. You've got Tunde, who's sat in P10 in the McLaren. He is just coming through into the final sector at the moment. He's got Ferdinand behind him on the leaderboard, who's in 11th, driving as a reserve here tonight. Good to see Ferdinand out on track with us. You've got Day 666 making his reappearance to Motive. Obviously, he raced on Wednesday night for the Sprint League, which was his first appearance since Hungary last season in the Sprint League. Before that, I mean, we have to go back probably to the beginning of last season as to when we last saw him out on tracks. Day's been taking a bit of time off, I think, re-energising, refreshing his sim racing memory, and priming himself ready for another assault here at the Motive Leagues. And yeah, good to see him back out on track. We can see the provisional pole to Kodalungu just coming up towards the line. Can he improve on his current provisional pole time? No, he can't. Stays the same. Ross Rebel though, 13th at the moment in this session, just over 3 seconds off at a pace. In the Bentley as well, the only Bentley actually out on track here in the Tier 2s, which is a surprise because the Bentley's always been a popular choice amongst pretty much everybody, but seemingly not so much at the moment, as Ross Rebel, the sole representative of the Bentley squad. We've got Emrosh here in 14th place currently in this session. He's just over 3 seconds behind the fastest time being set by Kodalungu. You got Mario making his debut here tonight as well. He's found him actually in a public server a couple of days ago, and yeah, I thought he seemed like a good clean racer, so invited him along, and he's currently running in P15 at the moment in this session. But obviously these guys seasoned veterans, and these guys race in competitive leagues now. Well, a lot of them have been in Motive for a while, so Mario will find his feet, and I'm sure will get closer and closer to breaking into that top 10 as he bins it there into the wall, and that's damage on the front of the car as well, so that's going to have cost him a bit of track time here, and I don't think he's going to be able to get back out on track in time to do another lap here. So that's Mario's session done. DJ Ken currently P16 on his debut here tonight as well. He's currently brought it back into the pits by the looks of it. You've got Chris, who's sat in 17th place at the moment, as he's just coming through the middle part of the lap at this moment in time. But yeah, Chris still yet to put a lap time on the board as things stand. But we've got Kodalungu, the provisional pole sitter, coming into the final corner here. Can he improve on what's currently a 1 minute 42.4? He's got just over 0.4 of a second over Fierce Miles. He's coming up towards the line. What can Kodalungu do? Can't improve for the time being. Fierce Miles is in the pits at this point, so he's not going to improve in there. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, that one. Totally 0k, a bit wide there coming out of the penultimate corner. Into the final corner we go. Went a bit too wide there. I think that would have probably invalidated his lap. I can't imagine that he's still on a valid lap at this point. Up towards the line, what can he do? Stays in P5, so no change there for Tony. 0. Crazy Legs coming into the final corner here. Currently 6th place in this session. He's just over a second off of the pace as he's coming up towards the line. Is it going to be an improvement here for Crazy Legs? No, not for the time being. Stays in P6. Ben Thompson coming to the middle part of the lap at this point. Shelton just behind Ben on the track. You've got Mad Hatter just coming into the final sector. Fednak coming into the final corner. He's currently 11th place in this qualifying session. Now what can he put on the board here as he comes up towards the line? Is it going to be an improvement? Can he get into the top 10 here? Not for now, he can't. Stays in 11th. Day's coming into the final sector. You've got Russ the Rebel in the pits. Emrosh is just coming into the final part of the lap at the moment, so I think Emrosh will be the next driver over the line here. He's coming through the penultimate corner now. He's currently 14th in this session. He's about a second or 8/10 off of a top 10 spot at this stage as he comes out of the final corner. Emrosh making his return to Motive, obviously raced with us in the first couple of seasons on the PS5. I think it might have just been the first season actually. And he goes P9 there, so he takes 1.2 seconds off of his time, and that is an absolute scorcher there from Emrosh. And yeah, up into P9 he goes. Brilliant stuff there from him. The Smash YouTube, who is that? Guys, if anybody knows, I just need to make sure. Because the Smash to me, that just hopefully this is a guy who signed up. Can we just double check who this is, because I'm hoping that this is all fine. I'm just a bit of a red flag here, so if we can just double check that the Smash is not actually going to smash into anyone here in this race, because that to me just screams alarm bells ringing. So yeah, we'll wait and see, I guess. Looks like, I don't know, it's hard to tell if they're on a wheel or a controller. Well, I don't know who the Smash is, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Gotta admit, gotta be real with you, I'm not quite sure who it is. Here we are then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Motive. We're getting ready to go for the Tier 2 race here tonight. So trying to work out who the Smash is, hoping it's going to be fine, I'm sure it will be. I don't think anybody would really be sort of silly enough to sneak into an ACC GT3 championship race just to mess it up. So I'm sure he's probably on the Discord server and he's just someone who's signed up and got the tags or got the PS5, the ACC PS5 tags off of me at some point. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure that nobody's sad enough to come in and destroy a race just for the sake of it, but especially when it's such a tight-knit community. But then again, here we are, guys, getting ready to go here. We're just on the grid here, getting ready for the formation lap. We've got Codling, who will be starting on pole position for this one. He took a dominant win in the final race of last season at Monza, and he'll be looking to do a similar job here tonight, I'm sure. But he's going to face a stiff test here from Fierce Mars, who's going to be lining up alongside him on the front row. 7 PM in-game time, so we're in the dark, and it's going to be headlights on, and it's going to be sort of quite a little bit of a challenge for the drivers here tonight. I didn't think it would be this dark, I've got to say. I thought it would be sort of a bit of sunlight, but looks like we are full darkness pretty much here at Kyalami. one positive is that the Smash has readied up. So if you're a noob to this game and you've never played it before, then you would probably not realise that you can't ready up within the 30 seconds, and then obviously you'd then probably forget to do it or something. So I'd say I'm quite confident that he's alright. I don't think it's going to be a problem, personally. I think we're fine. Let's hope that everything's all good. But then again, I don't know who he is, but it should be fine. It should be fine. Rosh in the Discord saying it's the game kicked him out to the pit lane, which is a real ball ache there. Johnson also saying no, just a pit, not tyres or fuel. You don't have to change tyres or fuel. No, you can just stop in the box if you want. It's up to you. Obviously, you have a faster car in the second part. Jamie Carlo saying let's hope it's just someone's new account. Obviously talking about the Smash. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure nobody's really. I mean, come on, you know, you'd have to have some serious time on your hands to be willing to use that time to do something like that. You know, just to sneak into an online race just to mess it up. I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't think anybody like that actually exists. Cod Lungudo, in the meantime, leading us around for this formation lap, and obviously Cod, you know, we've seen him take race wins. We've seen he's a man with a lot of credentials. Came very close to taking a championship here at Motive back when we were on the PS4 on ACC. Raced with us in Season 3 a little bit here in Tier 2, but struggled to get to grips with it, obviously with the PS5 version having slightly different physics and everything from the PS4. It took a few races to really get into his swing, but last season really came into his own and showed, I think, glimpses of the Cod Lungu that we knew from before. And then end of last season he was just really on another level from the guys in this Tier 2 division. Obviously Fierce Mars only 0.4 of a second off of his pole time there in the qualifying session just gone, so we know that he's going to be putting him under plenty of pressure here over the course of the next hour. Fierce Mars obviously races on Wednesday as well in Sprint League, so does Crazy Legs, and so does Shark Kazudu actually from time to time as well. So lots of these guys do race with us on both nights here, and they've got plenty of experience in the bag. Here we come then, through the final few corners. We are moments away from the start of a new season here at Motive, Season 5 on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Mutt's Nuts there saying, is Smoky Devil racing? Not as far as I know, Mutt, not as far as I know. I mean, it could be the Smash YouTube, but I don't think he is. But no, Smoky not out on track. I don't think he's raced with an ACC yet. But nonetheless, we're coming to the final corners here. Our 18 drivers here for the Tier 2s here tonight for the GT3 Championship Season 5 coming up towards the line, and we should be getting going in just a second here. Cod Lungu, your pole sitter, on the right hand side. Fierce Mars on the left. Who's going to get the better start here as we're coming over the line? And it should be green in just a moment. Here we go then. We are racing now down towards turn 1. Fierce Mars got a much better start than Cod Lungu. Cod Lungu a little bit sleepy off of the line as Crazy Legs here looking to the out. No, sorry, it's not Crazy Legs even. That is Shark Kazudu looking to the outside of Fierce Mars. Fierce Mars is currently there leading the race. Oh, it's Cod Lungu there spins. Fierce Mars there actually tags Cod Lungu, and Cod Lungu and Fierce Mars there. Oh, Fierce Mars is into the wall. So Fierce Mars there in huge trouble at the start. Where did Crazy Legs end up in all of that? Crazy Legs is leading the race here. So Crazy Legs very fortuitously there, picking up the pieces from everybody else. Shark Kazudu's lost a place here to, I think, Nath. So it's currently Crazy Legs, sorry, Crazy Legs leading from Nath, and Ben Thompson there is in third place. So it's not Shark Kazudu running in third, it's Ben Thompson. So Ben Thompson had a great start to this race. Cod Lungu there down to fourth place after that collision that we saw there going through turn 2. And Fierce Mars is down to 16th place, so it's been an absolute nightmare there for this man. He's really not had the rubber green so far in this first lap, but it's Crazy Legs leading as they're coming through the middle sector for the first time. We've got Nathan there running in second place ahead of Ben, followed by Cod Lungu. Day there in fifth ahead of Mad Hatter, followed by Sharkers and followed by Fed Nack beats in the top 10. Then you've got with Ross the Rebel, DJ Ken, Toonday in 15th ahead of Fierce Mars, who had that collision there coming through turn 2, and he's down to 16th place. The Smash YouTubers made up a place here up into 17th ahead of Rosh. Looks like he's a pretty clean driver for the time being from what we've seen. But it is Crazy Legs who leads the race as we're coming towards the end of lap 1. He's got just over a second over Nath, so he's starting to up the tempo already a little bit here as we've got currently Mad Hatter all over the back of Day. Or is it actually? I think it might be, yeah, it is. Oh, it's Mad Hatter there, gets a slide. Oh, he's had a massive slide there coming through to the penultimate corner, and he spins out there. He's going to lose a lot of places, I think. Where's he going to drop to? I think he's dropped behind, is it Chris? Chris has come out ahead of him. There's Mario. where is he ended up in all of that? I'm not quite sure. At the moment, Mad Hatter there coming over the line. He's dropped down to P10, so he has dropped about 6 places there. Mario's also dropped a couple of places here. He's lost out to Chris and Ruster Rebel here. As Fierce Mars has made a move on Tunde, so Fierce Mars is up into 15th place. He's made 1 position up since the start here, but it is Crazy Legs who leads the race after the 1 lap here of this race. He's got 1.3 seconds of a gap here over Nath. You've got Dave who's made a move here on Ben, so Dave is up into 3rd place. Dave currently sat in the podium places here at Kyalami tonight. Kodalungu in 5th place, currently attacking on the back of Ben, and he's making a move down the inside. Is he going to complete that one? I think he is. Kodalungu is, no, he's not actually, sorry. Yeah, he has to go ahead of him, sorry. And he's now looking on the back of Day as well. So Ben is still ahead of both of these guys, but currently you've got Kodalungu trying to attack after that collision, coming to the first few corners there with Fierce Mars. Fierce Mars made a few more places up. He's in 12th place at the moment, so he's definitely getting himself back in the game here. Also, I'm noticing that there might have been a collision there between Fednad and maybe Mad Hatter, because Mad Hatter's dropped even further down the order. Somebody is facing the wrong way. That's Tunde there, who's lost it coming through the first of those double left-handers in the middle sector. So Tunde is now dropping down to 18th in this race, and it's been a bit of a nightmare here for him so far. This is battle for second place with Nath, Ben, Kodalungu, Shark Zulu, totally zero, and there's Shelton on the back of these guys right now. There's Day ahead of Chris, followed by Mario. So Day's dropped a load of places here over the course of this lap. Not quite sure what happened to him, but he's dropped from what was 3rd place down to 8th. As Fierce Mars dropped another couple of places, he had made it up into 12th place. He's now lost out to Ross Trevor and Roche. Not quite sure what's happened there to him, but it's been a chaotic first couple of laps here for this Tier 2 race here for the opening round of Season 5 here on the PS5 GT3 Championship at Motive. Currently Crazy Legs leads by just over 2 seconds here over Nath, with Ben there in 3rd ahead of Kodalungu, who's got Sharkazoo hassling the back of him going down towards turn 1. Sharkazoo looking to the outside here as they come down towards turn 1. Can he get it around the outside of him? I don't think he's going to be able to. Kodalungu holds the inside line there, and Cod maintains 4th place at the moment as we see the rest of them piling through turn 1 at this point. You've got Mario there running behind Day. You've got Chris currently on the back of Mario, with DJ Ken currently coming with them there in 11th place. Bit of a gap back to Fierce Mars, who's got ahead of Roster Rebel and then Roche again. So Fierce Mars now back up into 12th place, but it's ebbing and flowing for him at the moment. Smash YouTube currently running in 15th place here on his Motive Racing debut here tonight, and he's ahead of Mad Hatter, Fednad and Tunde, who have all had problems. Tunde into the pits after we saw, obviously, he crashed coming through the first left-handers through the middle sector, you know, that double left-hander, yeah, he seems to be in trouble here in the early stages. Not the start to his season that he would have wanted at all, but there's the situation currently as we see the leaders coming through your shot at the moment. You've got Chris currently on the back of Mario, or is he still? In fact, no, Chris seems to have dropped off to the back of Mario then a bit. He's got DJ Ken on the back of him. There's Fierce Mars running in P12. You've got side by side actually here between Ruster and then Roche. Oh, what's happened there? It seemed like there was a bit of a contact there between them, and who's ended up in the wall? I think it's Roche there who seemed to cut across Ruster Rebel there. And Roche coming off way worse in that one. Ruster Rebel continues on his merry way, and clearly Ruster Rebel thinking that Roche was at fault for that one, because he's continued on, as said, no, sorry mate, I'm not going to wait for you there. And Roche there dropping well off the back of him there. So it's been a very chaotic start to this race. Crazy Legs currently leads the race by 3.6 seconds, so quite a dominant opening stint here from Crazy Legs so far, as you've got Kodalungu now closing up onto the back of Ben, but he's also got Sharkazulu still sticking to the back of him here. So Sharkazuli's not giving up here with Kodalungu. He seems to be a match for his pace, although is that because Kodalungu is stuck behind Ben? It could be potentially the case, but yeah, we're just going to have to wait and watch and see how this all unfolds. But Ben currently running in the front of podium place ahead of Kodalungu and Sharkazuli. There's Totally Zero, who's a couple of seconds clear of Shelton at this point. Fednad is arriving on the back of Smash here in the battle for P15 and 16. As they're going down towards turn 1, but looks like Fednad just a little bit too far back on Smash at the moment. Need to find out who Smash is, because he jumps in the lobby. Obviously I have no idea who he is, don't know how he got the password, but he seems to be a pretty clean driver, so obviously, you know, fair play. I have no complaints about him being in here. Seems like he knows what he's doing, but yeah, whoever you are, Smash, whatever your Discord name is, let us know who you are after the race, because I was a bit worried at the start, but those worries have been wiped away. But nonetheless, Crazy Legs still leading the race by quite a bit here. We got Mutt's saying no, he said he was thinking about doing it this season. Well, I spoke he's feeling up for it, then he should sign up on the Discord, because we have still got spaces. Obviously we've got 18 drivers out on track here tonight. There were a few that couldn't make it. I think there was 4 drivers said they couldn't make it here tonight, so you know, ideally we could have 20 plus, but we'd love to have more than 20 drivers on the track. To be honest, my sort of happy medium is around 20, 22 drivers. I find that having like 27 or 28, 29, 30 drivers, you know, having between 27 and 30 drivers for me is too many. At that point, I can't really, it's difficult to keep up with everything and know what's going on. For me, I think the perfect number is about 20 drivers. Or more than that, it really does get a bit overwhelming. But that's just from a commentator's perspective. Obviously, from a racing perspective, you want as many as you can. I know that. Probably what we could do with is having 2 commentators, but then again, I'd probably just drown them out and talk over them. But Clegg there still running ahead of Clegg right now in this battle for 4th and 5th places. Crazy Legs is continuing to stretch his legs, but he's not extending his gap anymore over Nath. Nath's keeping the gap at around between 3.5 and 4 seconds. It's ebbing and flowing, but on the most part, it's staying the same. Clegg and Clegg are still battling with Totally Zero, sticking with them at this point, not dropping off the back of them by any stretch of the imagination at this point. DJ Ken is dropping a little bit off. He's dropping Chris a little bit. Chris is struggling to keep up with DJ Ken a little bit at this stage. These guys are a couple of seconds behind Fierce Mars, who's now closing up onto the back of Mario here. So Fierce Mars obviously qualified up high, qualified in 2nd place, was 3 wide I think going into turn 1 with Clegg, and yeah, he was 3 wide going into turn 1 with Clegg and Crazy Legs, and ended up coming off way worse than both of those guys. Ended up basically in a bit of a, well, almost in the wall coming out of turn 2, and dropped down to 16th place. But he's currently on the back here of Mario, looking to try and bring himself back up the order and be a damage limitation race for him, I'm sure, in this one. But he's currently still sat in P10 at the moment, still knocking on the door here of a 9th spot at this point. As I'm just noticing on the timing screen that Ben Thompson has lost out to Shark Zulu here, or in fact Ben has lost out to Clegg and Shark Zulu, so he's lost out 2 places there coming to the final sector. Not sure what happened to him, must have had a slide or something to lose 2 places. And Ben Thompson now running in P5 here in this race. That promotes Cod up onto the podium places. He's now just 2 seconds off of Nath, who's running in 2nd place. He's only 7 seconds off of the lead here as Cod, so he's still very much in his battle for the win. Obviously he had pole position, and he's probably the fastest driver pound for pound in terms of pace here tonight. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see Cod start to bring the gap down to Crazy Legs. But Crazy Legs at the moment, and TJ Carlo will be very happy about this, he seems to have control of this one. So that'll be something that TJ Carter will be watching with, and will be grinning from ear to ear here tonight on the stream, seeing that Crazy Legs is currently doing the business at the moment. Nearly 5 seconds this gap right now over Nath, who's got Clegg just 2 seconds behind him. Shark Zulu still sticking to the back of Cod as well. I said before, Shark Zulu, you know, if you can keep this pace up, could be a contender for the win here, because no matter what, if you can stick with Cod, you can fight it out with the best. You know what I mean? In this tier 2 division, Cod is probably, I would say, he's got to be the favourite this season in terms of the championship. But yeah, if Shark can keep up with him, he can definitely fight for wins. But Cod has got a bit of a run on Nath as we're coming down towards the end of this little back straight, as we come into the final sector here. Cod down the inside. Has he gone too late on the brakes? Has he overshot the corner? No, he has not. He's got it absolutely spot on. Cod Lungu there has moved himself through up into 2nd place. That was a routine manoeuvre there from him. No dramas, didn't hang around. And into 2nd place he goes. Now Shark Zulu can try and attack on the back of Nath as well as they're coming out of the final corner. I reckon that Shark Zulu's going to have to pace over Nath, but is he going to be able to find a way through as easily as Cod Lungu did there? Here we come down the start finish straight. You can see there Shark Zulu in the slipstream. He's getting closer and closer here to the back of that BMW. The Audi pulls out the slipstream now. Is he going to stem up the inside here into turn 1? He's going to think about it, and he's going to go for it there as we're side by side the way through the corner. Bit of contact there between the two of them as Nath holds it around the outside for turn 2, and Nath still holding on for 3rd place there. Shark Zulu almost had him done, but couldn't quite make it stick there, and he's going to have to wait a little bit longer here if he wants to get himself into the podium places. Totally Zero currently on the back here. Ben in that battle for P5, which is still going on. You've got Fierce Miles on the back of Day in a battle for 8th and 9th places at this point, and these guys are about a second ahead of Mario, who's running in P10. But that's currently the situation. In fact, Fierce Miles has got ahead of Day, so Fierce Miles has made the move on him. So Fierce Miles now up into 8th place and can now focus his attention further up the order. He's currently 10 seconds behind their 7th place man Shelton, who's running in 7th place. But you've got Day still just ahead of Mario at this point in that battle for 9th and 10th places here. and Crazy Legs still doing the business out the front, but he's got Kodalungu now is the next driver behind him, and the gap 6.4 seconds, so Cod is chipping away bit by bit at that gap. Currently Crazy Legs though has got the ascendancy and still looking reasonably comfortable at this point, but you just never know. I mean, it could change from one moment to the next, but currently at the moment Crazy Legs has got enough of a gap to be reasonably comfortable. But Sharks are all over the back of Nath going into the final corner. There's Ben and Totally Zero going through the final corner as well in the background. You've got Shelton there running in P7 still in this race. As Nath and Shark Zulu coming over the line here. Down towards turn 1 we go here on lap 8 of the race. And Shark Zulu still just a little bit too far away from Nath at this point. Totally Zero there still on the back of Ben as well, as he's going late on the brakes there into turn 1. But not close enough at this point. You've got Day there, who's still got Mario all over the back of him right now as they're going down the start finish straight, and Mario just too far away again going into turn 1, not close enough really to be making any moves there. Ross Rebel best part of a second behind Chris at this stage. But back to this battle here between Nathan and Shark Zulu, who's still fighting out here over 3rd and 4th places, 0.2 of a second between those two. The thing is, Shark Zulu was keeping up with Cod before Cod got ahead of Nath. Now that Shark Zulu's got onto the back of Nath, he seems to have hit a bit of a stumbling block here. Looking left, looking right. He's looking to the outside now. They're side by side here. Can Shark Zulu keep the momentum around the outside? Nath there goes late enough on the brakes to cover the corner off, but also early enough to get the corner perfectly timed. And Nath still, for the time being, is holding on for this one. Sorry, I just had to take a deep breath because our hiccups were coming to haunt me again. But here we go. Shark Zulu here looking down the inside. Looking down the inside. He's made the move beautifully there as Shark Zulu makes it stick as well. Kept the momentum on the exit of the corner, and Shark Zulu into the podium places. He's been knocking on the door of that one for a couple of laps, and he's finally made it stick here. But he is over 3 seconds behind Cod. So he's going to have to really work hard for a race win. He's nearly 10 seconds. Sorry, about 7 or 8 seconds actually behind the race leader Crazy Legs. Kodalungu is gaining absolutely hand over fist on Crazy Legs at this point. I'm not sure if Crazy Legs made a mistake or if Cod is just going way quicker at this point, because Cod has gained about 2 seconds in the last 2 laps. He's probably gaining about a second a lap at the moment. Kodalungu is flying. Or could it have been a mistake from Crazy Legs that's given him a little bit of flattery here in that situation? Cod is now 4 seconds clear of Shark Zulu as well. I've got Totally Zero putting onto the back of Ben here in his battle for P5 and 6. Keep an eye on the timing screen because also Rust Rebel's still got Chris keeping the pressure on him in a battle for 12 and 13 places. But we're watching this battle for P5 and 6 at this point between Ben and Totally Zero. But Ben Thompson currently still looking good here. But he was running a third place earlier on, and then obviously lost out to Shark Zulu and Nath. So he's just got to keep his head above water here on his debut tonight. Obviously no mean feat running in such a high position as he is. He just needs to be consistent and withstand the pressure that's being piled onto him at this point. Racky in the comments, good evening all. Shout out to DJ Ken and Chris, great lads to see racing. It definitely is. DJ Ken making his debut here tonight in the BMW, and obviously Chris, a bit of a veteran here. Came 7th actually in last season's final standings here for Tier 2. Came very close to a promotion spot into Tier 1, just down to his sheer consistency last season. Not really the showing that obviously we became accustomed to seeing from him last season here in this opening round tonight, but then again, you know, Kyalami, I don't know if he likes Kyalami or maybe he's just not having the night here tonight, Chris, for whatever reason, is not really on the sort of the form that we became used to seeing last season. But nonetheless, P13, nothing to be sniffed at. Some good points will be in the bag for him, and consistency, as we said, you know, is massively key in forming any kind of standing in the championship, but potentially another push for promotion here this season if he can be consistent. But currently you've got Ben still running in P5 ahead of Totally Zero as they're coming through the middle sector at the moment. And it's still the same situation really. Totally Zero still can't find a way through. Ben's not been making any mistakes here in the last couple of laps. They're consistently dropping off at the back of Shark Zulu and Nath. They're running in 3rd and 4th. And Nath's actually getting, oh no, and Nath's lost it. Oh no, and Nath there hits the side there of Ben, I think it was. it was Ben who went into the side of Nath, so Ben very unfortunate there, completely accidental there from Nath, lost control of his own car, and Ben nowhere to go. He was side by side with Totally Zero, which meant that he couldn't take evasive action because Totally Zero was there on his left hand side, so he had to go to the right, and that was the direction that unfortunately Nath was moving to get out of their way essentially. Nath being conscientious, trying to move aside but couldn't do so because unfortunately no one had anywhere to go there, and they couldn't have done anything about that. There was no other alternative there in that situation. But it looks like damage limitation, they haven't lost out too many places here. Oh, Ben has, I think. Oh, Ben's got big damage as well. Ben has got huge damage there on the front of the BMW there. You can see Day making his way round up into 8th place, and oh, I'll tell you what, Ben is struggling here, and he'll need to come into the pits, I'm sure, and get that damage repaired. Obviously there is a mandatory pit stop here in the Sunday GT3 Championship here at Motive, so it's not the end of the world. It's not going to cost you too much time. So yeah, all told, I think it could be a lot worse, but it could be a whole lot better as well. But nonetheless, he's going to come into the pits here at the end of lap 11. Well, lap 10 actually, because the race leader is on lap 11. That's Crazy Legs there, going through to the end of the first sector. But currently Crazy Legs is gapped to Cuddling, who's still coming down, but it's not coming down as much as it was. I'd say in the last 2 or 3 laps it's come down by about a second, so Pod's still chipping away 3 or 4 tenths a lap. You know, that will do it for him. That's more than enough to be putting Crazy Legs under some very, very heavy pressure at this point, as Sharkazoo here is running in third. He's just put a lap there on one of the lap runners and didn't actually get a glimpse of who that was. I'm going to try and let you know who that is. It's quite dark, so it's quite difficult to see. Oh, it's Tunde. Tunde there, should be a very recognisable livery there. But yeah, Tunde there moving aside there for our 3rd place man, Sharkazoo, to come through, and Tokyo Zero will be coming up on him in a few moments time as well. Ben and Mario into the pits here at the end of lap 10, so making early pit stops. They're becoming the 3rd drivers to come in after Tunde came in for quite an early stop as well. So plenty of drivers have now come in to make their mandatory here, and we're still Crazy Legs leading this race here tonight. But we've got Glenn there saying Chris in a new car tonight, learning the BMW still. Obviously, yeah, but yeah, because he was in the what was it? He was in the McLaren last season, wasn't he? I'm sure. As Mad Hatter there down the inside of Chris, gets the move done there up into P10. Lovely move there from Mad Hatter. A bit late on the brakes, but he made it stick. Mad Hatter on his debut tonight, pulling the moves here at Kyalami. Excellent stuff there from him. Really impressed with that one. M-Rosh is gapping Ruster Rebel here, so Ruster Rebel, I think he might have a bit of damage maybe. He might have to come in and get that fixed, or either that or he's made a mistake. Day to meantime into the pits here at the end of lap 11, but yeah, that seems like it could be a bit debilitating here for Ruster Rebel, whatever the case. Gap in the meantime under 3 seconds now between Crazy Legs and Kodalungu, so Cod is continuing to gain hand over fist on the race leader at this point. Nathan's been a second here of Chelton at this point. Day's in the pits. Mario is just coming to the end of the pits now. Glenn saying I'm in a new car and on the wheel, not the controller. So Sunday evening drive. Oh, I didn't know you raced on the controller usually, Glenn. Wow, fair play. Can't be easy. I know I certainly can't drive on a controller. I used to play Gran Turismo on the controller, but I can't play any sim racing game on a controller. Project Cars, ACC, nope, not happening, sorry. At the moment I can't really set up my G29 because I haven't got anywhere to put it. Obviously moved house a couple of weeks ago, so at the moment my G29 is sat in the corner of the room in a bit of a heap, feeling quite sorry for itself actually, gathering dust, but hopefully at some point I'll be able to get a desk installed and get back into driving again, albeit I didn't really drive much anyway before. I've been commentating pretty much in every single series for quite a while. Did race actually in Motive's Project Cars 2 GT3 League back end of last year. Actually managed to win that championship, which was quite nice. But yeah, that's the only sort of competitive sim racing I've done in the last sort of year and a half, really. Actually, before that, I used to race at Simplay in their Project Cars 2 GT3 league. So, but yeah, I've done competitive sim racing on Project Cars 2, but I've only driven a couple of competitive races actually on ACC. My claim to fame on ACC is finishing second to Javier Ranz, who some people might remember him on the console, absolute demon of a racer, and I think he's on the PC nowadays. But yeah, I had a GT4 race at Suzuka. I managed to come P2 to him. It was at Motive actually, and I was racing as a reserve because I think the league that I did comms on a Wednesday, I think we were on like a break week or something that week or something, I can't remember exactly. And basically, yeah, I ended up doing a reserve appearance and I came second. So yeah, I don't know how. I did practice all week actually. I spent the whole week practicing because I didn't want to make a complete fool of myself. I thought, well, I better spend the whole week practicing just in case, you know, just so I can at least get into the top 10. And somehow came second. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. But yeah, currently we've got Nath coming into the pits here at the end of lap 13. So he's now bringing it in. Obviously that releases Fierce Miles into some clean air. And Nath there now trundling through the pit lane here. Crazy Legs still leads the race by just under 3 seconds here ahead of COD. So the gap between Crazy Legs and COD is actually staying quite consistent now. It's not really going down anymore. Raki in the comments says, Glenn, our ACC controller here, enjoy the wheel, Glenn. I missed the controller, says Glenn. I'm surprised because the wheel on ACC for me, breath of fresh air compared to the controller. But then again, I suppose if you've mastered the art of driving with a controller and you've got to the point where you know the game inside out with the controller, it probably is very different. I guess it becomes a different game essentially, doesn't it? I would imagine. Nathan, in the meantime, currently in the pits, so he's making his mandatory pit stop here at the end of lap 13. But Tunde Day, Ben and Mario have all been in already to do their pit stops. It was Tunde who came in for a very early pit stop, and he's currently the highest runner of the guys who have been in, so that's clearly benefited him. All that running in clean air has clearly worked out an absolute treat out of him. Nate's still in the box. Where's he going to come out in relation to these guys who are just coming into the final sector? That's the question. We're going to find out the answers soon. I think he's going to come out well ahead of them because Nath was actually running quite prominently here before his collision a few laps ago. And Nath has got done for a stop-go penalty here. So Nath has been steaming into the pit lane a little bit too quickly, and unfortunately for him he's going to have to come in and do a stop-go penalty here at some point in the next 3 laps, which is going to be a massive ball ache for him. He's come out absolutely miles clear of the other guys who have pitted, but he's going to have to come in again to do another pit stop here. So it's gone absolutely pear-shaped there for Nath J. Fletch. What a shame there for him, as we flick to Fierce Mars, who's now on back of Shelton. Obviously Fierce Mars dropped down to P16 on the first lap, so he's done bits here to get himself back up into P6. He's now knocking on the door of P5. These guys, Shelton and Fierce Mars, are about 10 seconds behind Totally Zero. They're about 15 seconds behind Shark City, who's in that final podium place. What sort of pace has Fierce Mars got here? Where can he get up to here before the end of this race? He needs to clear Shelton first, and that's not going to be an easy task here, because Shelton has been improving pretty much every week that we've seen him. Obviously he made his debut last season, I think it was at Watkins Glen. He made his debut, can't remember it. I mean I might remember, but I might not. I might be remembering it wrong. Oh, as Shelton there goes a bit wide, and that allows Fierce Mars through. So Fierce Mars did not need a second invitation there, and he gets himself up to P5. So Shelton with a little bit of a mistake, not a big one, and loses the place there, and loses about a second overall. As Kodalungu's now made some more inroads here on the front of, on the back of Crazy Legs, and look at this, they are absolutely nip and tuck here. So, oh no, they're not. That's a lap car. Sorry, that's a lap car. That is a lap car with a similar livery, and it's also BMW, I think, as well. But it's not actually Kodalungu. So Kodalungu's not quite as close as I thought he was there, but he's still reasonably close as they're coming over the line. You can see that the gap between Crazy Legs and Cod, 1.4 seconds. That was the lap car there of Nath who was coming in. So yeah, Crazy Legs and Cod, you can see there the gap, not much at all, just over a second here between these two, and Kodalungu definitely close enough here to keep Crazy Legs under some pressure. But the thing is, he's got the pace over him. He's got probably an average of about half a second a lap on him, I'd say, but is that going to be enough to force him into a mistake? Is that going to be enough to make a move? if Crazy Legs doesn't make a mistake, then he might be able to stay ahead by just parking his car in the right places and making sure that no gaps are forming. Codlungu's got to really be keeping his wits about him and thinking about where he can send one up the inside. Where is he going to be able to, where are the chinks in the armour here for Crazy Legs? That's what he's going to be discovering. That's what he's been watching very closely at this point. As the gap's just over a second here between these guys. Shelton in the meantime is in the pits, and Nathan's now done his penalty and he's back out on the track, so he's come in, he's not got another one, which is good to see, and yeah, he can now continue on his way. And Codlungu's made a mistake here because he is now nearly 3 seconds behind Crazy Legs, so obviously the gap was about 1.4 a few moments ago, so Codlungu's clearly had a bit of a slip or a bit of a slide somewhere coming through the first sector here. The gap now considerably more than it was, and Crazy Legs now suddenly looking a bit more comfortable again. So Codlungu's got the pace, but seems to have a couple of mistakes in him. We've seen it in this race so far. Seems to just have a few little weaknesses here around this circuit. There's the sparks flying off of the car there as they came out the final corner. It's absolutely beautiful here in the night time when you can see those sparks, see how they illuminate in the darkness. But currently Crazy Legs leading ahead of Codlungu there, but Cod, has he got the pace to reel him back in again? That's what we're going to find out pretty soon, I'm sure. As DJ Ken is on the back of Mad Hatter in this battle for 6th and 7th places here, and they've got M Rush on the back of them as well here, so this is for 6th, 7th and 8th places here. Got less than 2 seconds covering these three guys. I think it might actually be less than that now as well. Knocking on the door of DJ Ken. Here we come into the penultimate corner. Is he going to have a chance? He's not going to be close enough into the final corner. Can he get a good run out of the final corner though? Surely he's going to look to try and set himself up down the start finish straight. As here we come then. M Rush putting out the slipstream now, looking to the inside. But DJ Ken seems to have the straight line speed here down the start finish straight. The BMW pulling away from the Ferrari, despite the Ferrari having the slipstream. Down towards turn 1 we go. And M Rush is not close enough to make a move there on DJ Ken at the moment. Oh, DJ Ken though, massive slide there going through turn 1, and M Rush there gets himself through into 7th place, and quite an easy move there in the end there from M Rush, who just managed to slip through, obviously, with M Rush getting massively sideways there through turn 1, and that is now M Rush, as I said before, into P7. Gap though between Crazy Legs and Codlungu continuing to come down again. It was 2.8 at the end of the previous lap. It now looks like it's considerably less than that. 1.7, so Cod gained over a second there on Crazy Legs on that previous lap, and is continuing to make some very quick gains here. Totally zero into the pits at the end of lap 17. As there he goes, stops in the box. Fierce Mars also coming in here. Crazy Legs has gapped to Codlungu just a second and a half at this stage. M Rush within a second of Mad Hatter at this point. Tony Zero has done his pit stop and he's now back out on the track again. And Rush into the pits now as well, so they're coming in thick and fast now, the pit stops here at the end of lap 17. Lots of drivers coming in at the halfway point in the race, which makes a lot of sense really. It's definitely the most logical time to come in because you do the same distance on your second set of tyres that you do on your first. You know, you can generally tell the people who come in at the halfway point are usually the ones who are doing a half tank and tyre change strategy, and obviously you spend longer in the pit box when you change tyres, but you're also going to have a fresh set of tyres for the second part of the race, so you know you're going to have the theoretical, or not theoretical, you can have a physical pace advantage over the other drivers. As Codlungu here coming out of the final corner is about to complete lap 18, and he now leads the race because Crazy Legs has come in. So Crazy Legs making his mandatory pit stop. That could be an indicative of Crazy Legs being on a half tank strategy, or is he maybe coming in as a bit of a decoy potentially? That's also a theory which I've always thrown around because it does happen from time to time. You see drivers coming in at a halfway point trying to make their competitors think that they're doing a half tank when actually they're not. Crazy Legs there, still in the box. It looks like he's been sat there for quite a long time now, so I think that that's going to be a fuel change, sorry, a fuel top up and a tyre change there for him. So he has half tanked it. Codalungi's still staying out for the time being, still not showing any signs of coming in, which could be indicative that he's on a full tank strategy, which would mean that he's likely going to win this race, I think, on current form. With the pace that he's had in the first stint, when you consider the fact that he would have been running with a higher fuel load with that pace, you know, that's pretty impressive. But his gap over Sharkazoo is currently just under 10 seconds at this point. We're just over halfway here through the Tier 2 race tonight at Motive for the opening round of Season 5. Here we are then, guys, currently on lap 20 of the Tier 2 race for the round 1 here for Season 5 here at Motive. For the ACC GT3 Championship here on the PS5 currently. Codalungi with the ascendancy here, obviously his main contender really for this race win. Crazy Legs has been into the pits already, but Cod I think is probably on a full tank strategy here. He's continued to pull out the gap to Sharkazoo as well. I think that Cod and Sharkazoo might be the only ones actually of the top runners who are on a full tank strategy. I think everybody else may have half tanked it, or obviously Matt Hatter, DJ Ken, Chris, Ferdinand, I think all those guys are most likely full tanking it, but I think everybody else has half tanked it here. So Crazy Legs and Totally Zero will theoretically have the pace advantage here in the second part of this race, but can they make that work and close the gap to Cod and Sharkazoo? Or is the tyre dave just not going to be enough of a factor here for the tyre change drivers to really capitalise? DJ Ken and Chris here into the pits at the end of lap 19. What about Ferdinand? Ferdinand staying out for the time being. So like guys, Codalungu's been into the pits, so he's come out, he's 15 seconds clear of Crazy Legs. Obviously Codalungu hasn't changed tyres, I don't believe, and should be well, now on the same fuel as Crazy Legs. Gap 15 seconds, we believe Crazy Legs is on pressure tyres. Is that going to pay dividends? Is he going to be able to close the gap here? Probably got, I would say, 13 or 14 laps left in the race. The gap between them for currently 15 seconds, so Crazy Legs would have to lap about a second and some quicker than Codalungu to be on the back of him at the end. I reckon that might be a step too far here for him, but we'll have to see. DJ Ken here in the pits at the end of lap 21. Mario back in the pits again, so it's been a very topsy-turvy race for him. As DJ Ken's got a stop-go penalty. Oh no, DJ Ken there went steaming into the pits a little bit too quickly and has got himself a penalty as a result. That's gone absolutely horribly wrong there for him. That's going to be an incredibly frustrating situation there for him. Fierce Masters just got ahead of Ferdinand, obviously that for track position, but Ferdinand still needs to come into the pits. Fierce Masters technically in a battle for P5 in this race, I think, maybe, with Mad Hatter and no, actually probably with Sharka Zulu and I don't know actually, not really with Shelton actually. So Fierce Masters, I don't know, maybe maybe P5, P6 or P6 I think is where he's going to get to here by the time we get to the end of this race. I think realistically. Still 20 minutes left on the clock at this point. That's DJ Ken into the pits at the end of lap 22, so he's now sat in the box. Obviously serving a stop-go penalty which he racked up when he came in for his mandatory pit stop last lap. Sharka Zulu staying out for the time being, showing no signs of pulling the trigger just yet. Gap between Crazy Legs and Totally Zero just over a second at this point, so Totally Zero looks like he might be bringing that maybe a little bit closer here at this point. Fractions in it between them, but on the whole he is bringing that down ever so slightly. Here we come then over the line to start lap 24 of the race. You can see Crazy Legs there running in third place, just over a second ahead of Totally Zero, who's still keeping him on his toes at this point. And he is a little bit quicker at this point as well as Totally Zero. You can see he's just got a slight pace advantage, just seems to be reading him in through some of these slower corners here. If it's currently watching and live on the stream here, guys, if you're enjoying, please do smash the like button, subscribe to the Motive Racing channel if you haven't already. If you want to get involved in the leagues, then be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com as well, because we've got spaces in, well, tier 2. You know, ideally we want to be promoting a few people up to tier 1, because right now tier 1 needs some numbers. So yeah, definitely if you fancy getting involved in the action, www.motiveracing.com is the place to go. Crazy Legs just extended the gap to Totally Zero a little bit, looking a bit more comfortable there in that third spot. Keeping an eye also on the gap between Cod and Crazy Legs. Where's it at the moment? I think it's going up, if anything, actually, at this point. I know it's still coming down, actually. It's coming down actually by quite a bit. You know what? I've barely looked at it. It is coming down by about a second and a lap, actually, talking of it, because Crazy Legs obviously on his fresher tyres. Cod decided to stay on the same tyres. I mean, if Crazy Legs keeps actually gaining on him at this rate, Crazy Legs could potentially be in with a shout of overhauling Cod and nicking the race win off of him. We believe both of them are going to jump Shark Azuli when Shark Azuli comes into the pits to make his mandatory. Because Crazy Legs is about 42 seconds behind him. He loses about 45 seconds for a stop and go. So Crazy Legs should come out well clear of Shark Azuli. But Crazy Legs on the whole is gaining a little bit on Cod Lungu, so it's going to be an exciting battle, and Totally Zero as well. So Crazy Legs and Totally Zero could maybe be keeping Cod on his toes here in the final part of this race. This race win here for the opening round of the season at Kyalami here for tier 2, far from over just at the moment. Cod Lungu with an 11-second leader right now over Crazy Legs and Totally Zero. Obviously Shark Azuli still needs to come into the pits to make his mandatory pit stop, so once he does that it will be these two, 1, 2 and 3. But Cod Lungu on his worn tyres and Crazy Legs and Totally Zero on their fresh tyres coming for him at a rate of knots here in the final part of this race. Of you currently watching on the stream, guys, smash that like button and show your appreciation for the drivers, as we see Crazy Legs has now gapped Totally Zero by a couple of seconds over the course of this lap, and he is still gaining right now on Cod Lungu on his fresher tyres. He's definitely making the use of that fresh rubber here as we're coming out of the final corner. He's only done about 7 or 8 laps on his tyres. Cod Lungu's done 25 on his, and it will be paying massive dividends here for Crazy Legs at this stage. Gap came down by another second, 1.1 seconds it came down by on that previous lap, so on the whole he is still chipping away and chipping away, making gains every single time around. But a second a lap might not be enough. It's going to be close, I tell you that. That's definitely going to be close. Is a tyre deficit going to swing in the favour of Crazy Legs or Cod Lungu? As in, is the differential between their times going to be going up or down? If Crazy Legs' tyres start to go off a little bit and Cod Lungu manages to keep his at the same sort of range, then it could benefit him. Crazy Legs could start to drop off, but Cod Lungu on much older tyres, so on the whole his lap times are going to be slower than Crazy Legs, that is for sure. But as it stands at the moment, if Crazy Legs continues to gain by the amount he is, he's not going to be on the back of him, or he's not going to get on the back of him before the end of the race. He'll be a couple of seconds short as things stand, if they stay as they are, that is. And the gap so far on this lap anyway has stayed the same, so it hasn't changed at all. It's been basically neutralised at this point. Robe, sorry, in the comments, sorry for the delay getting back to you there, mate. He says, was there rain? No rain at all. It's not guaranteed, because it's random weather, so it could fall, but it's not guaranteed by any means. And tonight we've managed to get away with it so far. But yeah, it looks like the tier 2s are going to get away with it with no rain, because the forecast says for the next half hour it's expected to be dry, so you know it's not going to be coming down. I think here at least we can say that for sure. Because my contact lens has just fallen out. One sec, let me just put it back in. God's sake. I've got really bad hay fever, so I keep rubbing my eyes. There goes back in. Oh, that's painful. Oh dear. Totally Zero in the meantime has dropped off the back of Crazy Legs. Crazy Legs has now got a considerable gap to him. Nearly 3 seconds here between Crazy Legs and Totally Zero, so he's looking a bit more comfortable there, but he's also not really gaining on COD anymore. Looks like the gap's now staying at around 10 seconds, so our Crazy Legs tyres may be starting to blister a little bit, and maybe that's just slowing down his progress ever so slightly here. Ben's pulling away from Chris in a battle for 11th and 12th places. I think Ben might have got ahead of him, and now he's pulling away by the looks of it. Sharkazoo's still yet to pit. When is he going to come in? He will hand the lead to COD. Crazy Legs will be in second. Totally Zero will be on the podium. When is he going to come in and make that stop? Not yet, that's for sure. Here we are then, Sharkazoo into the pits, the end of lap 28. He's now off and away again, so Kodalungu will re-inherit the lead, which he's technically had the net race lead for quite a while. In fact, he's only just come out ahead of Sharkazoo, so Sharkazoo with a very quick pit stop there, and Sharkazoo's come out ahead of Crazy Legs here, so wow, incredible. So I didn't expect that. Crazy Legs is still gaining on Kodalungu at this point, but he's nearly 10 seconds behind him. But what's the gap between Sharkazoo and Crazy Legs? Because Sharkazoo running in second place, he's only about a couple of seconds behind COD, and there we see the lap car of Mario moving aside, but COD's not far ahead of Sharkazoo here at all, so this could maybe still be batted on here for the win. and Crazy Legs is going to have to pace over both of them on the fresher tyres, so he's going to be coming for them as well. So this could introduce quite an exciting narrative. If Shark City were to close up onto the back of Cod, put him under pressure, maybe them two have a battle, maybe that could invite Crazy Legs to close in on him more with the fresher tyres. I mean, this race is far from over. We're probably going to have about 5 laps left, probably about 5.5 laps left, I reckon. This is probably the 6th to last lap of the race. So yeah, it's getting towards the business end, but this could be very exciting indeed. It's about a 1 minute 44 lap in the race, so with that into account, I mean, it's going to be quite close actually. I reckon it's probably going to be another 5 laps left after this. So Cod here coming over the line. Yeah, I reckon it's going to be a 5 laps to the finish from here, most likely. So here we go then, Cod and Shark Zulu, your two leaders out front. What is going to happen in the final part of this race? It's been an interesting night here for Tier 2. It's been Cod Lungu, who obviously had the incident early on, dropped down the order a little bit. Shark Zulu managed to navigate through, as did Crazy Legs. Cod Lungu's fought his way back through. Shark Zulu, though, at this stage seems to have the pace over Cod Lungu, seems to have a slight advantage. I wonder why that is, because both of them are technically on worn tyres, but Shark Zulu seemingly has a bit more confidence out there in these conditions. Maybe he's looked after his tyres just that little bit better. Maybe the track temperature dropping is starting to play into his hands a little bit, but whatever the case, Cod Lungu, this is not the time for him to start falling apart here. Closing stages of the Tier 2 race here tonight at Motive for the opening round of Season 5. Cod Lungu very wide there. Shark Zulu looking to try and get a run, keeping them under pressure here as they come down the hill. We've got 4 and a bit laps left to go here in this race, and these guys have got Crazy Legs on fresh tyres coming after them quite quickly here, so they need to get their acts together. They need to not trip over each other, but it's easier said than done because they're battling over the lead here. They're 8 seconds clear of Crazy Legs right now. And so here they come into the final few corners of the lap. Cod Lungu clinging on by the skin of his teeth. He goes very wide there to the penultimate corner, almost losing control of it as he comes into the final corner now. Gets a decent enough exit here after the start-finish straight, and Shark Zulu's not going to have enough of a run, I don't think, to make a move into turn 1. As here we go, Cod Lungu defending the inside, weaving around a little bit, trying to break the toe. Shark Zulu trying to weave around to keep that in that slipstream there. Looks like the BMW's got considerably more straight line speed than the Audi, and Cod is comfortable here into turn 1. He seems to have a lot more straight line speed, but he's not got a grip there going through turn 1. Shark Zulu again can't capitalise, but it's getting quite close here between these two. Cod Lungu seems to just have the answer, but Shark Zulu's giving it absolutely everything he's got here, and it's going to be trying to look to send one if he can, because it looks like he's not got the straight line speed to be able to make a move down the straights comfortably. So he's going to have to try and catch Cod off guard, either that or he's going to have to force him into a mistake here, as Cod there did not look comfortable there at all, but Shark Zulu there wide onto the grass, rattling over that curb there on the edge of the track, still can't find a way through. These guys have got traffic just up ahead of them there. That is Day who's going through in the foreground. So they'll be picking him up in a few moments' time, and they'll be hoping he doesn't really hold them up or get in the way too much. But these two still fighting it out here as they come through past that sort of middle section there, which is quite hard to describe really. And here we come down the hill into the final sector of the lap once again, here on lap 32 of this race. I think it's going to be a 35 lap race here for the season opener, because I reckon we should have 3 more laps after this one that we're currently on. If we cross the line with 3:30 on the clock, I would say it's almost guaranteed that we're going to have 5 more laps here in this race. Here we come then, the 2 leaders into the final corner. Crazy Legs is closing the gap to these two, but not by enough. I think it's safe to say that it's going to be a duel for this race win, because Crazy Legs is not close enough to be a factor here, I would say. But here we come over the line. Cod and Shark Zulu now just over a second between them, so Cod extended the gap ever so slightly there on that previous lap. But I think it's going to be 3 more laps here in this race. I think just about we're going to start on an extra lap at the end here. Cod still clinging on. skin of his teeth. Notice on Tommy's screen here that Fierce Mars is now knocking on the door of Shelton as well, so he's trying to get himself through up into 5th place. He's obviously had a decent comeback drive here as Fierce Mars dropped down to P16 on the first lap after a collision in the very early stages, but has fought back really resiliently. Didn't let that get him down, didn't let that stop him. Has just got his head down and got on with it. So here we go, looking to the outside now as Shelton defending the inside line here into turn 1. Is Fierce Mars going to go for the cutback, or he's going to try and drive around the outside here? Shelton parking his car on the inside, but Fierce Mars might have the inside for turn 2. It's maybe side by side, no. Shelton just closes the door on him and keeps onto that P5 for the time being here. And Fierce Mars just going to wait a little bit longer here. In the meantime, Codlungu's got around the outside of Shark Zulu. So what's going on there? Oh, we missed that one completely. Codlungu now still holding on to that one. So I thought they were side by side there. Shark Zulu, I thought, was making a move on him, but didn't look like he was able to do it as they come into the final corner again. So Codlungu still holding on ahead of Shark Zulu. These two so close. Shark Zulu still can't find a way through though. 1 minute 46 on the clock as they start what is going to be the penultimate lap of the race, unless they crash into each other, in which case it might be less than that. Crazy Legs 5 seconds behind, still gaining on them on his fresh tyres, but seemingly the right strategy was the long game. Putting the race fuel in and doing the whole race on one set of tyres clearly was the strategy to be on here. Codlungu was still got just under a second of a gap to Shark Zulu. Shark Zulu's going to throw the kitchen sink at him, you feel, in these final couple of laps, but is he going to be able to nick the win off of him? Shark Zulu, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I think he won the first race of last season here for Tier 2, as we see a bit of a slide there of Shark Zulu in the lead of the race here ahead of Cod. So he's made that move on him there, he's managed to slip through, and Shark Zulu now has P1 and looking to try and make it 2 consecutive season opener wins here in Tier 2 here at Motive, I believe, because I think he won last season at Spa as well for the season opener. And obviously I was looking down trying to work that out, and I completely missed him making a move for the lead. But Shark Zulu has done absolutely superbly to nick the race lead off of Codlungu. It's been back and forth between these two. Shark Zulu has been putting the pressure on him since they came out of the pits actually, and I was surprised to see the pace that he had over him, because I thought that Cod has had the pace over everybody here tonight. But when they came out of the pits after their final pit stop, Shark Zulu just seemed to have the edge over him, and he is currently on the verge of taking a race win here in Tier 2 for the first race of the season. Crazy Legs is continuing to gain on these two. He's only 4 seconds behind, but I think he's left it a little bit too late here. And he's just going to get to them just a little bit too late as we're coming over the line here to start the final lap of the race. 2 seconds on the clock as they came over to start the final lap. Shark Zulu there still just ahead of Cod as they come into turn 1. To come back here, can he stage a last ditch rally to get himself onto the top spot of the podium here for the first race of the season here for season 5, or is Shark Zulu just denied him at the very end of the race? It's going to be close here between these guys. They're now pulled away from Crazy Legs, so Crazy Legs made a mistake here in P3, but he's still clear of Totally Zero, so should be able to bring it home for a podium here, Crazy Legs. Shark Zulu though has got just half a lap left to go here tonight, and it will be the race win for him. He's just clinging on here ahead of Codlungu. Here we come then, into the final sector here. Shark Zulu, just a few more corners to go. Took the win in the first race of the last season here at Motive for Tier 2 at Spa. The rest of the season kind of went a bit pear-shaped for him. It was a bit of an inconsistent one. But can he make the most of his strong start here this season and propel himself to bigger and better things over the course of the next few rounds of this season? Here we come, Shark Zulu into the final corner here at Kyalami, and what a drive it's been from him. He took the fight to Codlungu, he found a way through, a flash of lights from him as he takes the checkered flag here. A great win there from Shark Zulu. Codlungu a valiant second place. He'll be gutted that he couldn't get a win, but nonetheless a great performance from him. Crazy Legs completes the podium, but a creditable drive here from him. Totally Zero, a fantastic job as well in 4th place. The top 4 separated by less than 10 seconds in the end, and these guys were in a class of their own. Well clear of Fierce Mars, who what could have been for him if he didn't drop down the order with big damage there on the first lap. Ended up in P16 at the end of the first lap, and he's fought his way up into P5. It's been a fantastic job from him. Tunde has finished a lap down in 9th place ahead of Ben Thompson, who finishes in P10. Day and DJ Ken 2 laps down in 14th and 15th. Mario 3 laps down in 16th. But Fierce Mars here coming into the final corner. Fednat's coming over to finish in 11th place. He is a lap down. Fierce Mars will be next over the line to finish in P5. Shelton comes over in 6th. Chris is coming up towards the line to finish in 12th place. He is 1 lap down. Rasta Rebel coming out of the last corner here, also 1 lap down to finish in P13. Mad Hatter out of the last corner, he's going to bring it home in 7th place, and it's been a strong performance. A great debut here from him. Flashed the lights also. Well done to him. Emrosh into the final few corners. It's going to be 8th place here for Emrosh. He will be the last driver on the lead lap as well, as here he comes up towards the line. The last driver to finish the race here, Emrosh there. Some good points in the bag here on his return to Motive. But that is that then, guys. 18 drivers started here for Tier 2 tonight. 16 made it to the end. Congratulations to Sharka Zulu, Codlogu and Crazy Legs on taking the podium places. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in here tonight. We'll be posting the new stream for Tier 1 on Discord very shortly, guys, so keep an eye out. That'll be live in about 5 minutes time. I'll jump into that session and then we'll be getting that on the screen. But yeah, thanks everybody once again. Please smash the like button if you did enjoy, and thanks to all the guys who've been in the comments. Tune in with us here for the new stream in a few moments time. We'll see you in a sec.